Security chair!
Damn it.
What the fuck? Get away! Talking Patient Zero. This is I guess it would fall into the zombie movie camp, but it isn't really. But if you are a zombie fan, I suppose it would be lumped in with those kind of the movies. It's more in the along lines of 28 Days Later. We have a little bit of exposition at the beginning of the movie telling us that it's actually a mutated form of rabies that affects people. So people aren't undead, they are infected. And this movie actually tries to do something different. It tries to be the Silence of the Lambs of the zombie genre. So what we focus on a group of surviving humans that are this kind of scientific community that have kind of like this military escort. So it's all very kind of Day of the Dead. And they are trying to find a cure for this virus ultimately. And they are experimenting on the infected. Now the crux here, so to speak, is that Matt Smith's character, Morgan, he actually has been bitten but is not affected. And this makes him be able to understand what these kind of infected are talking about. Now, the difference here is the infected are actually completely sentient and intelligent, but they just act like kind of ravenous animals. But they are capable of, free thought, and can kind of reason and communicate and everything like that. They're essentially like a offshoot of humanity, if you like. So it's a little bit of a difference, and they are trying to find this Patient Zero, and they come across Stanley Tucci's character, who seems to be the kind of like the most intelligent one, maybe Patient Zero, although that kind of contradicts itself with that one. There's this kind of like battle of wits between Matt Smith's character and Stanley Tucci's character, and that's kind of your movie. So I would say this movie is most notable for its list of, I would say, premium TV stars that you would have seen on popular television shows of kind of in recent years. So you got Natalie Dormer and John Bradley, both of whom are from Game of Thrones. She played Marjorie Tyrell, and he was like Sam from Jon Snow's friend, etc. You've got Matt Smith, obviously, who most famously known for Doctor Who. Stanley Tucci, obviously pretty well known in his own right. You've got Clive Standen, who is probably most notable for the role of Rollo in the TV show Vikings, but he's also been in the more recent Taken TV show. You've got, I'm going to pronounce this name wrong here, Agnes Dien, who I recently saw in Burnt Sun, I think it was called. So there's actually quite a lot of kind of science fiction and fantasy actors here. So if you're a fan of all of that, then you may like this. There's quite a lot of British talent here, but a lot of them speaking American accents. So I've got the feeling, because it is predominantly a British cast, they don't want to seem like a British film. So you've got like Matt Smith and John Bradley putting on American accents, and it sounds kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. So this seems like it's got quite a lot of production value. It actually was made in 2015 but was shelved. And I think you can tell that this movie has been cut quite a lot. So we'll talk about that again in a minute. But what works, first of all, like I said, the production value here I feel is pretty strong. It looks like there is a little bit of money here. The set design looks quite intricate. There's quite a lot of extras when we kind of see these zombies attacks. It looks like there's quite a lot of them. There's actually quite a lot of stunt work. It's this kind of like, these zombies are, no, they're not zombies. These infected are pretty agile, and there's quite a lot of kind of like action going on with these guys, like flying all over the place, trying to kind of like crawl up the walls, etc. You've obviously got a pretty good cast here, so the acting, with the exception of a few dodgy accents here, for the most part is pretty good. The makeup effects, although minimal, I feel is effective, and there are a couple of okay action sequences. But what doesn't work? Okay, so I feel this movie has been cut to shreds in regards to its story. So it looks like this movie, they just didn't know what to do with it. So what's happened is that the film company has just sort of cobbled together a version of the film that they think, just put it out there. Whatever the director's vision was simply hasn't worked, so we'll just bung out a kind of a a film that is a little nonsensical, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. It kind of contradicts itself in a few times. So, for example, Matt Smith's character, you know, we're just told, oh yeah, he's bitten, but it doesn't affect him. And then it's not mentioned again for ages later. That, how's that possible? And then we have like Clive Stanton's character literally says to him, "You're replaceable. There's loads of people like you." But then later on in the movie, that we're told he's the only one. So there's all stuff like this. There's just stuff that just seems to be missing from the movie. It feels very kind of disjointed. So it looks like it's just been hacked together to make some kind of passable kind of like plot. Although it doesn't. It doesn't run perfectly. I feel it's trying to be this kind of like. I'll give it props for kind of trying to be a little bit different with the zombie genre, having this kind of like this battle of wits between Matt Smith's character and Stanley Tucci's character. But again, it doesn't make a lot of sense considering the narrative that we're given. And we just Stanley Tucci's character, again, it's just, why is he like that? I mean, we see flashbacks that kind of contradicts maybe the title of the movie. You know, it's just. There's just a lot wrong here, unfortunately, in regards to the basic structure. It just looks like this movie is just kind of a little bit of a patch job. Probably why it's taken years to actually come out from when it was actually made. But there are some good stuff here. There are some kind of like some quality kind of like actors here. And like I said, I feel the production design and everything's actually pretty good. I think the music's quite good here. But the actual story is just a bit, ultimately, it really isn't that clever when it comes down to it. And the script just looks like it was like thrown together, or the editing looks like it was thrown together to make it kind of like a little bit of a jumbled mess. And I've got to say, yeah, those accents are somewhat distracting, especially John Bradley's one. Anyway. So I'll give this movie a 5 out of 10. I've had a look on some reviews on IMDb, and they all give it like 0s and 1s and stuff, and that's just not fair. It's not it's not that bad of a film. Though it does have some major problems. It bugs me when people kind of like go, oh, it's a 0 or it's a 10. It's just kind of there. It's okay, but it's nothing special. So 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.